Brave Maker Show is hosted by Tony Gappistone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
That's right. It's showtime. It's showtime. Happy New Year, everybody. This is our second show of the day. It's a double feature for Christina Jackson and myself. I'm Tony Gappistone, and I'm the founder and executive director of Brave Maker. I am live from Redwood City, California. So if you're watching us live, say hey. We always love to connect with people, have questions for our special guest or for myself or Christina. We welcome them. I am a filmmaker, writer, director, and actor, and you can find me at Tony Gappistone. My name is right there on all of the socials.
And I'm Christina Jackson. I'm an actor, writer, disability, and LGBTQ plus advocate, coming to you from the East Bay in Dublin, California. This is great. Glad to be back. Oh,
glad to be back.
ChristinaJackson.com. Yeah.
Christina is still rocking the Christmas tree. That says something about your personality. I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I was under the impression like we do that till the end of January. You're like, no, mine's done already, but do you?
Do you? You got to do you. You got to be who you are.
Yeah.
I was telling Christina on our other show, I really love my seasons. I live by them, even though I tend to be hugely right-brained. I love spontaneity. I love the creative life. I also thrive on my calendar, and I love having like distinct times. So when January 1st hits, I'm like, boom, baby, let's move forward. Let's do this. You know? So we always... Well, what's up? What?
You were going to book a show January 1st, and I hadn't really thought it through. I was like, wait, January 1st? That's a Friday. Oh, no, there's no way. Like, I will not be fit for a show on the 1st.
So if you're just joining us, we are doing this every Friday. We do this 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have special guests every week. Christina and I are loving our ability to be able to host and meet new people from all around the world. We just had a filmmaker from Paris, France. So make sure you go rewatch that and listen to it on the podcast. It's fantastic. But we always start our shows with this one question. And it's a question we'd love for you to answer too. You're welcome to pop things in the comments what you are working on. If you're listening to this on the replay or on the podcast, tweet at us or Instagram us. We're very available on social media. But the question is, how are you braving your way for your creative dreams? Like, what are you doing to move and advance your creative dreams forward? So for me, I answer that question this week is, I want to be a filmmaker. I'm writing and directing and producing my own stuff. And so to this week, I emailed some people for funding. It's hard to ask for money, but that's how you get things made, is by financing them. And so this week, I told myself it's the beginning of the year. I got to send out those emails with these proof of concept videos that I've made and these packages that I've created so people can see the work I'm trying to create and ask them if they want to fund. So that's what I did. I asked people for help. That was how I braved my way this week, or one of the ways. How about you, Christina?
As a creative, it's super important to me to really focus on self-care, especially after the holidays and we're jumping back into work. And so I go back over my favorite spiritual teaching books, such as Deepak Chopra's The 7 Spiritual Laws for Success. I highly recommend that book. And recently I discovered a new spiritual teacher. He's fantastic. He recommends no New Year's resolutions, which I love. You can check out that video on YouTube. And his name is Sadhguru, spelled Sadguru. All of his content's fantastic. Definitely dive in and take care of yourself.
Huge. That was a huge piece of wisdom we got from Christopher Morrison from our last show, who just talked about burning out at the end of his 2-week film shoot. And so I totally take that to heart. What are you doing to take care of yourself? That is a way you brave your way in this industry. That's awesome. Thanks, Christina.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's welcome. I'm really excited about our guest today because I was telling him off air, I have been like stalking him down, trying to get him to come on the show and synergize his work, which is a film critic. And his name is Markus Emilio Robinson. Welcome, Markus.
Yay! Welcome, Markus.
I feel like the pressure's on now.
Hey.
The pressure is on.
Oh, wow. You're gonna find out how impressive I am.
But the beautiful thing is you are very impressive in writing, and that's why we're here. So Markus and I met. This is a shout out to our producer and my co-partner in Brave Maker work, Jessica Musgrave. She introduced me to Markus a while back and told me she worked with his wife, and he's a writer, and he loves movies. Markus came to one of our events when we were sadly still available and open to meet in public. And he got turned on to his page. And so if you're watching us live, I'm going to put that on here, but it's moviesmarkus.com. If you're listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see these images, but we will have the link in our show notes. So Markus, let's just first start out with how'd you get into this?
Okay. Well, I've had a love for writing ever since I was a kid. I have some speech problems, and I had a lot more speech problems growing up. So it was a way for me to fully get my thoughts out. So when I went to community college, I really just wanted to pursue that. So I got into journalism, and at West Valley, the college, community college over in Saratoga, they have a really good, I don't know if it's still around, but they had a really good journalism course that really taught me, it's good to know APA or AP if you're writing criticisms or any kind of journalism format.
Markus, is AP short for Associated Press? That's what I think about. What does that mean?
AP is, what is it? Oh geez.
Is it like this? Is like the style, or standard? I think
it's
writing?
it's a style book. I believe it's APA. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me see.
Google that stuff.
I'm gonna Google. Yeah, I know. I should have Googled it before This was a long time ago. Listen, I'm about 75 right now after last year. So So it's a style book. It's a style book for formatting versus MLA format.
Cool.
I really loved journalism. I wanted to transfer into San Jose State with a bachelor's in journalism. I wanted to get in there and do that. It was impacted. I got into there was a film course that was available. I loved film. I used to go to Blockbuster every week growing up. So I said, why not? Yeah, I don't know if anybody still knows what that is. But I said, why not? Let's do it. I'm here. And I got my bachelor's in filmmaking. And after graduating, I really wanted to combine the two. And I said, why not critique films? I had done a little bit of film critiquing in community college, but I said, why not just go out there and just see what happens? And I really, really fell in love with it.
That is awesome. So please tell us, what is a day like? What is your work like as a film critic? Why do you love it? Why is it important? Okay.
So my process, other than stressing out about what to write. So usually I'll try to watch 2 films a week. I used to, when things were in theaters in California, I used to watch one thing in the theaters and one thing kind of on a streaming platform. So
Dude,
everybody
same.
can kind of, yeah. So
Yeah.
I miss the theaters. I would go
Yeah.
every week, every Friday. I would
every
be in a
week,
movie
yeah.
theater.
Yeah. I try to go Tuesday
Yeah.
because they have something on, but Fridays are when everything's popping, right?
Yep.
So I watch the movies. I take my notes. I know some critics don't take notes during the film, but I take a lot of notes, and I'll go and I'll like outline what I'm going to write, and I will try to write some critique that I find satisfactory. So it usually takes me a long time. But yeah, that's basically my process. 2020 kind of hit me hard, so I haven't written that much. But 2021, I'm looking to get back into my two articles a week thing. Yeah.
Well, I want to say my declaration this year for 2021 is that we see more of Markus in the Brave Maker world. So you will be, we will be sharing Markus's reviews on whenever we can. So we'll be sharing on social media. So obviously, if you're watching us live or on the replay, you're following us on social media, which is great. But we also are going to be sharing Markus's work through our email newsletter, and we also get free film. So Markus, I'm going to encourage you next week to watch the free film we get. It's an MTV documentary called Finding Ying Ying, and we're going to be having the producer and the Oscar-nominated director Diane Kwan on with us, and you can only get it if you're on our email list. So everybody, make sure you go to bravemaker.com/buzz. And I want to invite Markus to write a review on this documentary that we can actually host on our site. I think it'd be fantastic. So, all right, so let's talk about this more. As a critic, by the way, I think it's really cool. You're braving your own way in this, like very much so. You started your own website. You're putting your work out there. It's not like somebody's paying you to do this. You yourself are making this happen, and I love that.
For punishment. Yeah.
That's passion. Some call it punishment, some call it passion.
For sure. I figure, so the why I really am all about that journalism course that I took is because my teacher said we have access to things. The internet is filled with that. You can start something, and in fact, your assignment is to start a website, and you can go out and just like other like film teachers are saying, you have a phone, you can do something, you can actually go and do it right now. So yeah, I really took that and said, it makes me feel good. So, but why not format it and put it into something that is a little bit more like current, I guess, like there's something coming out, so I have a little review on it.
So talk
Markus,
about. Go ahead, Christina. Go ahead.
How do you select your films, and then what is it that strikes you that makes you want to write about it? So when you're watching a film, what sticks out to you? Like, hey, I want to write about that. I want to leave a review about that for other people who haven't seen the movie to be encouraged to watch it or to look out for it while they're watching it.
So I usually watch what's popular. So when I did the theater and Netflixing, I watched something that was really popular, and then I watched something else that I was really anticipating, but it was only going to go on VOD or Netflix or whatever streaming service there was. So the selection process is kind of random, I guess. But I will literally watch anything. So there's nothing that's kind of like off limits for me. As far as watching the movies and what I look for, I really look at it as if I'm looking at a painting, and it's kind of feelings. Technical stuff is in there. But the way I write is not, I don't really, a lot of my friends, sad to say, when theaters were out, they didn't go to the theaters more than 5 times a year, maybe. And that's just like shocking to me, So what I would do is I would write a movie that they would never go see. I would write a review on a movie that they would never go see, but I would write it as if I was talking to them. Like, I would encourage you to see this movie and make it kind of like enticing to them. I loved this thing, and this is why you should see this versus going to see this big blockbuster Transformers 10. So that's kind of my thought process when I'm taking it all in. I look and I want to know how it makes me feel. If I'm getting bored, if I'm engaged in a certain part, why I'm feeling this way. I take random notes when I go back and I look at them, and then I try to just piece everything together and just make it sound coherent.
Marcus, that's beautiful. That is a beautiful reason why. Like you're talking to a friend. That's great.
So can you talk about what do you do with films that you don't like? What do you do with films that do bore you? Are you comfortable being critical if you're thinking about that in that way and telling people not to watch it?
For sure. I think it helps that I don't know a whole lot of directors and producers, but I'll be more shy. No, I'm pretty I'm pretty forward with my writing. I think I don't know if this is going to come up later, but the reason why I write, going off of my whole sometimes speaking is hard for me. When I write, I can be a totally different person. I can be that kind of, it's like a real version that is really cut and dry and really to the point and really snarky and really whatever when I need to be and really funny when I need to be and really, so when I write something, of course, there's tons of movies every year that I don't like or are flawed or I'm bored with, which is probably the worst. And I'll say, hey, I was bored. This is why I was bored, and I'll walk you through that process versus kind of bashing on it and not giving you kind of my insight of why I was bored at this moment. Maybe it was so there's I don't know. I'll put it out there. There was a movie. There's a series that came out. It's called Small Axe. It's the Steve McQueen series, right, which is fantastic. There's a couple of them segments that are getting high praise, and one is called Love Rock, and it's a non-narrative piece, and it's about an hour long, and I didn't particularly love it, and everybody loved it. But when I when I wrote something about it and I handed it to another critic friend, and he was like, "You're crazy," da 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 da, and I was like, "This is really how I felt, and this is how I." And he was like, "Well, I haven't seen somebody criticize it before, but this is an interesting criticism just because it's really going through the process of why you weren't into it without going, this is a bad film," because it wasn't a bad film, and I watched it again, and it was fantastic. I was just in the wrong mindset. But that's it.
So that's interesting to think about the mindsets that you're in and how that affects not only your viewing, but then your review of it. Because I've been on the opposite end as a filmmaker. I've been, someone's review, and I've had people, review my work, and it's been like harsh. And other times I've had people review my work, and it's been like, eh. And one short film I had, somebody gave away my ending, like full on, said something about the ending. I'm like, So you do have a lot of power as a critic, and sometimes, sometimes you're like the bane of the movie director's existence. But we need you.
I think as a critic who also has a bachelor's in film, I think I can appreciate what a filmmaker doesn't want in a critique. What a filmmaker is like. A lot of these people, these directors that I had gone to school with were like, hey, tell me what you really think. But when you tell people about it, don't like give away my ending. Obviously, this is something people do, but obviously you don't do that. Stuff like that. So I really appreciate that section of my schooling as well. And I think that really gets me to kind of appreciate what directors are really doing, rather than just going, hey, I was bored and just bull rushing them and whatever. I'm going, well, what was he trying to say here? Maybe there's something here that I'm not seeing.
That's amazingly compassionate, an approach of that kind. And I think your background is really what helps you to do that. So back up a little bit further. Where were you born? How were you raised that has made you uniquely prepared to be giving these beautiful,
Oh
compassionate
boy.
film critiques?
Where was I? I was born in San Jose, California. I was raised by a I was raised by a black father and a Mexican immigrant mother, um, who were very they were very they were inside and worked inside of the education system and the
Mm-hmm.
social services system, and so I was surrounded by different people constantly, just constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I was older that I was said, "Oh, disabilities," or "Oh, different different culture," or "Oh, this and that." It was kind of like this little immersed world that I was in until I moved out of that area, or I got near like a Saratoga or something that was very vanilla. Um, but yeah, that's my background, and I grew up with a dad who loved old movies, and so when I said, "Hey, let me watch," I want to watch some Jimmy Stewart movies, he was like, "Oh, yes, here's all of them." And when I said, "Hey, I want to watch Jaws," and I'm like 7 or 8,
Yeah.
he's like, "Yes, let's watch Jaws. I've been dying for you to watch Jaws since you were 2 or whatever." And so it is something like that. And my mother is into the arts, into Mexican artists, Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, all those. These are images that I grew up with and grew up seeing, and grew up around.
So cool. I love that. I love Christina always asks that question, and it's really fascinating. It's a quick little Twitter bio of somebody, but you get a little glimpse into who they are, and we can't help but being who we are in our skin,
Right.
and where we were raised and who our parents were and how they contributed to it. So that's a really beautiful part. And again, I just want to commend you too. We had Clayton Davis on the live show. I don't know when that was, months ago, and we'll put the link in the show notes. But he basically started his own website just like you, Marcus. He started doing his reviews. He was a film fan at heart and started putting himself out there. He created awards circuit, which now he gets paid to do through Variety magazine, and has his own podcast and stuff too. So just want to say, like, as a brave maker to another brave maker, I love that you did it. You're putting your work out there. And if there's anything else that we can do to elevate what you're doing, like, I'm excited. And I also give you a huge like praise for saying this is not easy for you to do. Like, you're like, I'm better expressing myself in writing and I'm not talking.
Yes.
And
Right.
this is your first live stream. So
this is my first live stream. I've been on podcasts, but never visual, and it's a whole different. It's a whole different beast.
So thanks for braving your way through this and being with us. And so let's dive into your website a little bit and talk a little bit about some of your stuff. I was looking earlier. I'm like, we have some similar sensibilities, which I thought was cool. So you do a deep kind of narrative dive into the films that you review, but then you also rate them with some stars. And I noticed that Antebellum got 2.5, which
right?
Let's talk about that.
Listen, a lot of that was due. Let's talk about it. A lot of it, a lot of that was due to me wanting it to be better, and me seeing trailers, which sometimes I shouldn't watch, and going into this movie and going, hey, this is going to be something that is likened to Get Out, or something where it's a story, but there is this underlying cutting cultural, societal just hits. And this was very forward and just did what it was going to do. Now, the concept is fantastic, but a concept I don't know makes a movie. To me. So that was my heavy criticism. It was more disappointment than kind of this is a bad film. It's just when it's a 2.5, 3, 3.5-star movie, it's just more of a disappointment, and I'd rather almost have something that's a 1-star, because at least I can find something that is appalling or interesting or has. But this one kind of got.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about your 4-star review of Borat, subsequent movie
Okay, there we
film,
go. I like
which I
Borat more than
like.
the film. Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know about it? I thought it was fantastic. I am not the hugest Borat fan. I think Sasha is fantastic. I think he's fantastic. But Borat, the original, I wasn't taken with it like a lot of other people quoting it all kinds and everything like that. I thought what he did here was he got around a lot of the whole I need to be in every single prank by adding another character seamlessly. He had this storyline was much better, and I think it captured a lot of what people wanted to see and people were kind of thinking was happening, and behind the scenes of the entire political scene out there at the time, right before the election. And I think it was just right place, right time, and it was just a really well put together movie.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and last one, and I'll turn it over to Christina. Your 5-star review, 5-star. We're going 5-star here, which I think everyone needs to see this film, is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I loved that movie. That one, I instantly got Raisin in the Sun vibes. It just hits. So a lot of movies that are made from plays, the translation is, I can only assume, is difficult. You're in a confined area. You only have a few sets. If you stray too much off of the play by adding some stuff, it looks really tacked on usually. Ma Rainey works, and yeah, it works because of the fantastic performances by Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman, but also because of the August Wilson writing is brilliant. He's just brilliant, and he can have people in a room arguing, and I'm like riveted on the edge of my seat, wanting to know what happens next. So yeah, I loved it.
I thought this was a great film to watch for filmmakers because it was basically in one location. It was in this recording studio, in adjacent rooms, a little bit outside. And that is what we're trying to do as Bravemaker. We're trying to encourage people to make their movies, and movies cost money to make. But if you think about budget, like we talk about a lot on this show, use what you have. So make a film in an apartment, make a film in your friend's cafe that's not open right now. Do whatever you can, get building and make it happen. I think Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was a great example of that. So yeah, go to Markus.com and check out. This is also going to be in the link of our bio. So if you're following us on Instagram at bravemaker.org, we have Movies Markus in our link in our bio, which we're really grateful for. Christina, what do you want to talk about next?
Markus, you have said some really fascinating things about your work as a film critic, things I've never heard, such as you kind of have an alter ego, kind of Borat, Sasha, Beyonce, Sasha Fierce kind of thing. Yeah, that's what's up. So if you could name your alter film critic ego, what would you name them? And
oh boy.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, let's do that.
Um,
On the spot.
Okay. Geez, oh man, that's rough. If I had an alter,
snarky.
Yeah, he's like a little snarky. He's more assertive. You know, I suffer from anxiety disorder, and Markus on paper doesn't suffer from that. He's just.
I love that.
He's so confident in what he's saying, and I just don't. I need to think about that name thing.
Mr. Confident. Tony and I can relate to that because we write all kinds of different characters, and some of it is ourselves, but some of it is really like how we would love to see ourselves, like ideally. Because on paper, like you have the time to really. So I totally get that. What advice do you have for people working out their writer's alter ego and getting into the business, like how can they do what you're doing?
So I think as far as getting into writing, there's so many things to set up websites, there's so many websites to set up pages. There's the access is out there. You can do it kind of today, like right now. As far as finding your voice, and as far as I remember what the other part of the question was, but as far as finding your voice, I think that's just practice. I think when I first started writing critiques, I had come from a background of like creative writing, short story writing, and I ditched that because I had heard in journalism it's very cut and dry. You're just the facts. So when I started writing critiques, I said just the facts, and it came off really bad, and it was really hard to do. And I ditched a lot of them. I didn't want to do it, and I was like, is this something? Why would I ever do this? And when I started interacting with other writers, okay, so that's another thing. When I started interacting with other writers and that were doing critiques, I saw that everybody had an individual voice. Some people were into short writing, but they wrote like just really punchy lines. Like they would get. I knew some guy who did that, and then he got a blurb on a film, on a poster, and I was like, he's cool. Just really good at writing blurbs, you know. And another person did like a whole essay thing. Like his reviews were always over 1,200 words, and that fits a certain demographic. Some people really love to delve deep, and they want to delve more into the particular movie. And he was a really fantastic writer. And then with me, I was like, okay, I need to find my own voice. I need to, and my voice is usually like, I think things are awkward or funny, or how do I make this kind of funny or light or just not as heavy technically? And that's how I write my reviews. But how you really expand is, I think Tony's touched on this every time I've seen him, but connections. And it's just connections to people. It's just really hard for me because of my anxiety. It's like connecting and putting myself out there and saying, hi, how are you? Whatever. But connections, when I went to San Jose State, the connections that I have from there, a lot of my support group, even though there was no people who wrote like critically in there, a lot of my support group now comes from that. Comes from the directors who were like, write this movie. Here's a movie. There's a movie. You should see this movie. You should whatever. And they would read my stuff when nobody was reading my stuff. So I think connections are huge. It's my number one for going to college. If you're going to go to college, connections.
That's cool. I've heard a lot of people talk about that, not even just with college, but with film school, because right now with making films, you don't have to go to film school to become a filmmaker. I didn't go to film school, but people say if you have the money and the means, know that one of your biggest reasons to go to film school is for the connections. And we have a film student segment we do once a month with Toby Lynn, who goes to film school at Chapman University in LA. Cool. And that's the beautiful thing, is she's creating her crew, her tribe, her Bravemaker crew. I love that.
Right.
Well, it's good, Markus. However we can help you with your connections, we're here. And our listeners and viewers, this is it, okay? This is a new chance, a clean slate. It's the beginning of 2021. It already started out very similar to 2020 with a little bit of dumpster fire America. But we would love to encourage you to go after these dreams. You've got to find ways. Take classes, okay? Ask somebody for help. Take your phone, just start writing, start a web page. All of these things we can help you do. We have classes. We have a resident web designer who can help get you a website. If you need one, you need to DM us and talk to us right away, because we want to help you. Okay, and make sure you're following us on all of our socials and stuff, because we are putting out this content not just because we got a lot of time on our hands, it's because we want to help people and we want to create impact. And we're doing this for us too, because we're trying to push out our stories into the world. All right, well, it's that time. Every live show we do Brave faves. So you got 15 seconds to get it in your mind, friends. Here we go.
Brave faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave faves.
All right, I'm going to go first. My Brave fave, I'm a little behind. This was a big show earlier in the year in the pandemic, but it was Upload on Amazon. It's 10 episodes. It's very cool, very witty, sci-fi show. The whole concept is, what if you could choose where you did your afterlife and you uploaded yourself to wherever you wanted to do your afterlife? But the show is a great commentary on class and wealth and the disparity between those who have and those who have not. I loved it. 10 episodes. The acting is phenomenal. The stories are really funny, make you think. I laughed out loud a ton. And it just gives you some really great things to talk about in 2021 America. That's my fave for the week. Upload on Amazon, season 1. Marcus, what do you have?
So I talked about it briefly earlier, but Small Axe. If you haven't seen it, I rewatched it this week. It is a 5-film anthology from Steve McQueen. A lot of people haven't seen it for some reason, but Steve McQueen, everybody loves him, and he came out with 5 movies this year, all having to do with immigrants from the West Indies who live in London in the 60s and 70s. Each is a different story. One has John Boyega in it, that's my guy. But each is a different story, talking about oppression, or talking about the education system, or talking about something and tied it into something historically that was happening during that time. It's fantastic. Only one of them, if this is any incentive, if you're worried about watching 5 films, only one of them is 2 hours. The rest are an hour. They are fantastic. They are just, I don't know why more people aren't watching this. And it looks intimidating, but it's just, once you start, you won't be able to stop.
Nice. I'm on that. I've heard some good buzz.
Yeah.
So if Marcus says it, then I'm going to go find it. That's good. Christina, what's your fave?
I'm on that. Yeah, fave is Black is King, a film by Beyonce, one of my favorite artists. And the film is absolutely spectacular. It is more like an experience. Everything is beautiful about it. The cinematography, the acting, the performances, the dancing. The soundtrack is absolutely as you would only expect from a film by Beyonce. One of my favorite songs on the soundtrack is called Scars by Shake and Jesse Reyes. So definitely check out Black is King.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing. I have not watched it, but the cinematography looks extraordinary.
It's fantastic.
It is beautiful. It's an experience. Beautiful.
Cool. Well, Black is King, Small Axe, and Upload. You all have some great 2021 suggestions to start your year. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching us live. If you're on the replay or on the podcast, make sure you go to our website. And remember, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So everything that we do is because of your generosity. We cannot exist. We can't do our website fees, pay our insurance, do our rent without your help. We are creating revenue streams through our classes and through our productions, but everything we do as a nonprofit is really, truly based on the fact that people support us and the arts and believe in our mission to elevate brave voices for justice, diversity, and inclusion. So as we go into our 3rd year, if you'd like to participate in supporting us in any way, I welcome you to do that, to go to our website at bravemaker.com/donate, or just pick up your phone. Use your phone and text the word Brave Maker to 44321, and you can go ahead and become a partner today. I always tell people, like, you're a partner with us. Whatever you're doing, and your support is being a partner with us. Kind of like people invest in the stock market. Well, you're becoming a stakeholder in what we're doing. And I'm going to quickly show you what we have coming up next week. That if you are a partner with us and you are a person who's on our email list, it's simple and it's free. We have the film that is our selection of the week next week being offered for free to our subscribers only. And it's a screening that is going to be 48 hours provided by MTV for a film called Finding Yin Ying. And Finding Yin Ying is a film that had its debut online for South by Southwest and has been getting lots of great buzz by filmmaker Jenny Shih. It's a feature-length documentary. You see all of their laurels if you're looking and watching us visually. If you're listening to it, you can go to findingyingying.com to find out more information. But the producer is a friend of mine named Diane Kwan, and she is great. She's Oscar-nominated, Emmy-nominated, and we're excited to have her. So come and sign up on our email list and get a free link that is only going to be available from January 14th to January 15th, and then we'll have them live on the show next week. Okay, well, before we head out, I always like to have a last word by our guest and obviously my co-host, Christina. But anything else you want to say, Markus, before we take off today?
No, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for stalking me. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but yeah, I'm saying it now.
Right on. Well, hey, so the invitation is here, obviously. We're going to share your writing on a regular basis, but maybe we bring you on a monthly basis and you can do like the 2 minutes with Markus thing that we were doing. Just give us a 2-minute review on something. Let's keep touching base on that. That'd be great.
That'd be cool.
Love that.
All right, you got it. Cool. Brave stories change the world.
And you are the story. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.